Hey there, everybody. Robert Taylor with Wonderscape Creations, continuing on with the final episode of part one of the component system. I'll get on to to part two of it. And it's not a component system, it's a companion system. But I'll get to part two of it um, sometime down the road when I have a significant amount of things to add for you guys. And this one isn't going to be so much a follow along because while I was recording, I realized a couple of use edge case situations that weren't being covered, such as if the party's not full, but there are still a couple of slots, then those needed to be filled. Um, and that caused me to find other issues that I didn't realize were there. So I fixed it. Everything's working as it should. And at the end of it, we'll prove that everything is working. But for now, we need to do we need to get everything set up for saving. That way, everything loads as it should. Now, the first thing you need to make sure is here in the player controller, you have the event set actor GUID and the stable get actor GUID set up correctly. If you're in a child of one that was set up, you still need to set this up because the parent is not being saved or loaded because you're using the child. Now you can use the same saved GUID, assuming you're never going to use the parent. So that's what I did. So you need to make sure that that's what you do. Set that up on your controller. Because the controller has the static GUID and there's a saved GUID. So you can pick whichever one you want. I just chose the saved one. Not a big deal to me because it works. Once you have that, now if you don't see these functions because you're using your own, you're putting this in your own actor somewhere instead of the controller, then you need to add an interface called narrative savable actor. That way you can set this stuff up. Now in the actor component, we need to, in the class settings of our actor component that we made, add the narrative savable component. So that we get everything that we need. With that information all set up how it should be, the last thing we need to do is for every variable we want saved, we need save game checked. And once that is checked, narrative will save it and place it where it's supposed to. Now, I've already fixed it, but I'm going to go ahead and show what the issue is that will happen. So let's say I spawn in an ally. Fantastic. Control save. Empty slot 1. I hit play. They're not showing up. However, if we come here to the controller and we look at the party, there they are. They're here. Ivana's here. She's just not loading. The next issue we can run into. Let me remove my save here. There we go. Is if I come over here and I add Adronia and her team to my party. And I go ahead and I save. And hit play. They go back. But, just like before, they're still in my party. All of them are in my party. So we need to address this bug. And we can do that quite easily with a singular function. And this function is called check for loaded party. And the first thing we're going to do, this check actually is no longer needed because it only happens on when we load the game, is we need to check for followers, see if this is empty. We're doing this first just to get it out of the way. And all of my trials and errors, when I was trying to figure out where the bug was coming from, the order of operations changed to this. So it's what we're gonna do. Um, if it's empty, then we just go to the next check. If it's not empty, we need to get our followers array for each loop, add follow goal to NPC. Now, if you recall in the add follow goal to NPC, um, it'll check if they're spawned. If they're not, then it will spawn them before we go on to the next spot, which is give them their goal and all that stuff. Now, once we're done there, we need this branch. Now, the use case that I'm talking about is I was checking if the party was full, and if it was, then we were doing it. Problem is, you might not always have a full party. So I had to create a check if all slots empty. And here we go. So I created this pure function called check if all slots empty. So make sure you check it as pure. And we get the party, and we're checking if the slot tag is not the player, because the player will always be true. And we're checking the slot in use. So that means if it's not the player and this is false, then nothing's going to happen. If it's not the player and it's true, then is empty is going to return as false. Whereas if it gets to the completed, is empty will return as true. Now, once you have that set up, and you pull in the check if all slots empty, and you've made sure that it's a pure function, create a branch. And now we're going to add to the party. So make sure you pull in the party variable, and we need to do it for each loop. And the first thing we're going to do is check to see if it's the player. If it's the player, we do nothing. Next, we're going to check if the slot is in use. If it's true, then we go ahead and do this player NPC definition and add follow goal to NPC. Now, once we have all of this created, we need to come to our interfaces, and there's a load event. So double click to turn it on, and we're going to check for loaded party. And we're only doing this when after the game has loaded all of the variables. So now, if I hit play, they're staying right where they're at. Now, there is one thing that I want to try, because it was causing some strange stuttering in my bug checking, is I don't like having to do this. So I'm going to change this to a not Boolean. And to this. And we're going to see if this works. There we go. Perfect. No strange stuttering. So I removed a branch. I removed a node that is not needed. And there we go. Everything is as it should be. So that is everything that that I have planned for us to go over in this series. As you discovered, saving things super easy. So that's great to know. Once you know how to do everything, it's very easy to do. So, with all that information in mind, and everything set up how you want for your companions, I hope you learned everything you needed to. If there's anything that you run into that causes questions or concerns, or it's not working for you, just please let me know, and I'll do what I can to help. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next series or in the next episode for the Narrative Pro tutorial series.